Karen Batt from the Community and Public Sector Union. Come the referendum later this year, I'm going to be standing on the right side of history. I'm voting yes to give a voice to our First Nations people to the Parliament of Australia. Come join me and campaign for a yes vote.
Did you know that you are in a moment in time where you have the power to change the nation for the better, and to do so, you need only say yes. These moments are rare, and this moment, our moment, began on the morning of 26 May 2017, when 250 Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people, including myself, from throughout the continent and its adjacent islands, gathered in the heart of the nation at a special place called Uluru. We had engaged in many days of passionate discussion and debate, and with an eye to the lessons from the past, we looked to the future. Our great hope was that we would reach a consensus, one collective statement that would invite Australia to right the wrongs of our colonial past. We called that statement the Uluru Statement from the Heart. How could it be denied that Indigenous people have a special connection with this country? We are human, like you, and we seek our rightful place in Australia's birth certificate. I hope that by now, the question you are asking yourself is not if Indigenous people should have a constitutionally enshrined voice, but instead you're asking yourself, why? Why have we not granted this fairness to Indigenous people before? It would be a fair go for our children, not just Indigenous children, but all of our children, to no longer be burdened by a colonial past and a constitutional ignorance to our Indigenous heritage. If you, like our children, would say yes, then this is your moment. And I want you to use your power not just to turn up on polling day at that referendum and cast your vote as a yes, but to do the work that the Indigenous people have done in this country, and in the lead up to that referendum, take other Australians by the hand and make sure they vote yes too. I'll recite the Uluru Statement from the heart now, and I hope that you'll respond in the same way that my people did, with standing acclamation and tears of joy and hope. We gathered at the 2017 National Constitutional Convention, coming from all points of the southern sky, make this statement from the heart. Our Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander tribes were the first sovereign nations of the Australian continent and its adjacent islands, and possessed it under our own laws and customs. This our ancestors did according to the reckoning of our culture from the creation, according to the common law from time immemorial, and according to science more than 60,000 years ago. This sovereignty is a spiritual notion, the ancestral tie between the land or Mother Nature and the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples who were born therefrom, remain attached thereto, and must one day return thither to be united with our ancestors. This link is the basis of the ownership of the soil, or better, of sovereignty. It has never been ceded or extinguished, and it coexists with the sovereignty of the Crown. How could it be otherwise that a people's possessed the land for 60 millennia and this sacred link should disappear from world history in merely the last 200 years? With substantive constitutional change and structural reform, we believe this ancient sovereignty can shine through as a fuller expression of Australia's nationhood. Proportionately, we are the most incarcerated people on the planet. We are not an innately criminal people. Our children are alien from their families at unprecedented rates. This cannot be because we have no love for them. And our youth languish in detention in obscene numbers. They should be our hope for the future. These dimensions of our crisis tell plainly the structural nature of our problem. This is the torment of our powerlessness. We seek constitutional reforms to empower our people and take a rightful place in our own country. When we have power over our destiny, our children will flourish, they will walk in two worlds, and their culture will be a gift to their country. We call for the establishment of a First Nations voice enshrined in the Constitution. Makarrata is the culmination of our agenda, the coming together after a struggle. It captures our aspirations for a fair and truthful relationship with the people of Australia and a better future for our children based on justice and self-determination. We seek a Makarrata Commission to supervise a process of agreement-making between governments and First Nations and truth-telling about our history. In 1967, we were counted. In 2017, we seek to be heard. We leave base camp and start our trek across this vast country. We invite you to walk with us in a movement of the Australian people for a better future. Thank you.
I'm incredibly proud to be part of a government and an Albanese-led government that's committed to implementing the Uluru Sector from the Heart in full. And the voice is the first part of that. We're also going to be doing treaty and truth. And I think that's an important part of the conversation that we'll be having as a country this year. And I know that you're probably following this closer than some other people in our communities, but I'm not sure if you will have heard, but this consultation process to get to Aboriginal communities supporting the voice has been one of the most extensive and longest consultation processes we've had in our country for First Nations people. That is no small feat. That is no small feat. 80% of Aboriginal people support the voice to Parliament in our constitution. That's an important statistic to know when you've got lots of naysayers out there saying, is this what Aboriginal people really want? It is absolutely what we want. But we're only 3% of the population. We need you to help that aspiration become a reality later on this year. We're relying on each and every one of you to help us make that a reality later on this year. And I wanted to take a second just to read out what I think is a really powerful part from the Uluru Statement from the Heart. It says, and I quote, "We seek constitutional reforms to empower our people and take our rightful place in our own country. When we have power over our destiny, our children will flourish. They will walk in two worlds and their culture will be a gift to their country. We call for the establishment of a First Nations voice enshrined in our constitution."
Tanarang and Gunai man, Tanarang on my father's side and Gunai on my mother's side, Victoria, both Aboriginal people. I come from a line of activists within my family and pretty much both my parents, but their parents as well. And so, activism is something that we've been involved in. Unions also, I think that it's been a sort of really a backdrop and a backbone for us. My grandparents and my parents in how they've been involved and what we've been doing. But I think I'm taking this opportunity now to be involved in something that's going to make history for us and for our next generation. But I've been involved in a history in which my mother and my grandparents were involved with. And when they were actually protesting for the right to become Aboriginal or recognise Aboriginal people in the 67. We actually put it down, pen to paper, and we show our solidarity in the way that we want to see changes being really a big significance in our life, and most of it's going to be concreted. That we've got this opportunity to do it, and that's something I want to see for my grandkids and and their next generation as well.
G'day, I'm Thomas and I work for the Victorian Fisheries Authority as a fisheries officer. We're based at Malakuta and I identify as a Jar Jar Wrong man. My story dates back to the late 1800s where my ancestor was taken from her family and with her new adopted parents they got a steamer from Melbourne to New Zealand. Culture was stripped and now we're with my father and my mother and my brother and sister, we're the first generation back in Australia. So we've come full circle and I'm going to vote yes for the referendum and the voice to Parliament.
Please get involved in any way you can.
Let's all join up and let's all say yes as Aboriginal and non-Aboriginal people